What is up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing here a deck profile, this time for something brand new. I've never done this before I believe. This is going to be a Zamazenta deck. Now it does obviously focus on playing both Zamazenta and Zacian as well, and in the past we have done a Zacian deck, but I do feel that the Zamazenta is definitely outcasted by the actual Zacian V, and as a result it never actually gets its own spotlight out there. So I figured I might as well give it a bit of attention in this particular build, and that way you guys could actually form a deck on your own. Of course, you don't have to play many copies of it. I actually am only playing one copy of the Zamazenta V, though if you did have more copies, there is a bit of a way where you could actually just alter the deck a bit to fit in extra copies of it. However, before I get started, let me remind you guys that if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, hitting a like, commenting, and sharing this video. It really does help. But with that being said, let's begin. So starting off here, we're going to be playing here the one copy of Zamazenta V, but we're also going to be supporting with the two copies of Zacian V as well. Don't get me wrong, this is not meant to be a Zacian focused deck, so you are trying to obviously go for the Zamazenta as your main Pokemon. However, to have Zacian V as a backup option is definitely very nice. It's just that, given that this is a metal deck or a steel deck, playing the Zacian Vs, well, it's kind of inevitable. You have to actually play it in any kind of steel deck out there just because it's such an important card, it's become a staple. But that doesn't mean that Zamazenta will be overshadowed. No, that's not it at all. We'll definitely be focusing on Zamazenta quite a bit, because we have over here the two copies of Ditto V, absolutely amazing, allowing you to pretty much pseudo play 3 copies of Zamazenta V, or rather 2 extra copies of it. Definitely fantastic, of course, because you could swap out whenever you need, and that also might include the Zacian V as well if needed. So in this particular case, it adds a bit more flexibility, a bit more versatility, allowing you 2 choices as opposed to just the 1 choice. No doubt, our supporting Pokemon here will be the Crobat V, absolutely crucial for draw power. We're playing a steel deck here, a metal deck that's pretty much just swapping out between the Zacian V and the Zamazenta V. With that being said, you want to be able to manipulate the energy any way you want, so playing 2 copies here of the Bronzong is definitely fantastic. You guys might be a bit surprised to see some of these, but we are playing here the Berserkers. Now the Berserker is easily searched out via Meowth, so you don't have to play an Evolution Instance just to get it out anyway, and you have plenty of cards to discard either way with the Meowth, because this deck has an amazing amount of draw power, so you don't need to worry about that. But with that being said, I think a bit of an uncommon play here would be the Jirachis. I'm actually playing 2 copies here. This is Dreamy Revelation. Not as good as Stellar Wish, but that's okay, because you could still definitely pull off a loop anyway, given that as long as your deck has a bunch of good cards, you don't really have to worry about playing a card like Stellar Wish or an ability like Stellar Wish, because Dreamy Revelation will definitely already be enough to do the job. Don't be surprised when I tell you guys that I'm going to be playing here Quick Balls and Level Balls. Obviously we need some sort of searches in any kind of way, so I chose to play that particular ratio. Always 4 copies of Quick Ball, and the Level Balls typically will alternate depending on what kind of deck I'm playing. But that also goes the same with the Metal Sources pretty much being a staple in this deck just as much as the Quick Balls and the Zacian Vs. We are definitely going to be swapping out a lot of Pokemon, retreating and then bringing out a different Pokemon, because Zacian V obviously has its Brave Blade, but at the same time we also have the Zamazenta as well, having a few of its own drawbacks, being that its attack is a little bit weaker than the Zacian V, so sometimes you might want to swap out in between just to get out a KO. So as a result, playing this is definitely crucial. However, 4 scoop up nets and 4 switches will definitely be very crucial in actually making the Jirachi loop actually work in this deck. Next up, a few utility cards here: Cape of Toughness, Power Pad, Tool Scrapper, Ordinary Rod. I really don't have to explain all of these because they're just such crucial cards in any deck, and most people would play at least 1 copy of these, if not the only copies of these in their decks, and that way they could definitely get a bit of a small edge against the opponent. Another splendid option here would be the 2 Crushing Hammers and 2 Fan of Waves. You want to be able to disrupt the opponent, slowing them down as much as possible. That way they can't pull off their attacks as easy as you can. Now of course, on to supporters, we're going to be playing here the 1 Leon. Sometimes we just want to get over the certain amount of attack damage to actually knock out a big and powerful Pokemon. At the same time, we have Boss's Orders to control what our opponents have on active zone. Not to mention Marnie actually also acts as an amazing disruptor. To end things off on the supporters, we're going to be playing here 4 copies of the Research, definitely a crucial card for the deck, playing 4 of it just to maximize the draw power of this deck. For some energy, we're going to be playing 2 Coding Energy here. Weakness is a bit of a problem, of course not so much anymore since fire decks don't really exist. However, Victini has definitely been quite prevalent out there, so to just deal with that annoying deck, I chose to play at least 2 copies of the Coding Energy. However, I'm also playing Capture Energy. It just gets out all your basic Pokemons out onto the bench really easy when you have cards like Zacian V or Zamazenta V. Finally, we're going to be playing here our 6 copies of the basic Steel Energy. This is obviously the magic and how it actually gets about. We have metal sources anyway, so if you discard these, you can bring it back. You also have Zacian V, allowing you to attach really quickly. Otherwise, you could also move them around really easily using the Bronzongs. Ultimately, this deck was one of the most consistent decks I've actually built. It's really fast, the draw power is absolutely amazing, and you're going to get to your resources really quickly with this particular build here, so definitely give it a go. And given that fire decks are now kind of in the slow run here, except for Victini of course, this deck definitely has a good chance in the actual format itself. But with that being said, definitely leave me your suggestions as to what you thought about this particular deck and what kind of changes you would make. However, thanks for joining me today. I hope you all have a fantastic day. I'll see you all next time.